That's one way to get the motor out of the machine. So here's the motor out of that John Deere. This is why I'm doing all this work. Looks like I got pretty lucky here, guys. Awesome. So it's all painted up nice. This thing should look good. I'm calling the PTO 100% complete. These two tires here were leaking pretty slow, but they'd go down about a day. They'd be flat. So I went and I converted these over to tubes. So I'd put tubes in these two tires, the caster wheel for the mower deck and one of the steer tires for the machine. Basically, just cut the valve stem for the tubeless tire and dismount one side of the rim and put the tube inside. It's a little bit of a trick, but I've done that in several other videos, so I didn't even bother to make a video of it this time. But I did put a splash of paint on there. I'm actually using John Deere yellow, had that left over from another project. So these things are gonna look like $1 million on that thing. I did puncture a new tube. That would have been that one. Whenever I was mounting the tube, I think that punctured somehow, probably with a tire spoon. So anyway, I'll show you guys these on the machine. And there it is, one of the steer tires on. Just a simple snap ring and a cap. That bad boy is back in action. Finally got a chance to use my little jack here that I made. I recently did a video on building this jack, and it's pretty handy. It's a pretty nice little thing to have around the shop. Put this tire on. And there we are. Wow. It's pretty tight. Oh, my goodness. Huh. Isn't gonna be too crazy tight. That is just a sheet metal oil pan. In case anyone was wondering if they've got one of these John Deeres, this is an 85358 CarQuest filter. The original John Deere filter that I took off was an M806418. The John Deere dealer was closed, so I went down to the CarQuest and got the oil and filters. I'm just using this 1030. This is a synthetic blend. That'll be good for this machine. It takes about 3.5 quarts. Let's see if this thing will fire up after sitting all winter. I was really impressed. That thing fired right up. Well, this thing does have an electric fuel pump, so it didn't have to really crank a long time for the fuel system to prime, but I double-checked the oil. I'm going to have to add another half a quart. That'll bring up to about 3.5 quarts. And then I should be able to let this thing run for a while, because I had the radiator all out of it. I'm going to have to bleed the air out of the cooling system, so I'm going to have to run it for a while and let the thing circulate, get the temperature. Make sure it's charging the battery, and just clean up everything under the hood here. And I should be able to take this thing for a test drive. Imagine that, after all this time. It is middle of April now. Whenever I started on this thing, I believe it was back in December, so it's been a while in the garage. Alright guys, so I got the carburetor all apart, and I found some pretty nasty stuff in there. I don't know if you can see that jelly looking stuff in there, so I'm going to give this thing a good cleaning. I started up and drove it around, and it was stumbling and hesitating, so I figured I'm just going to take the time and clean this thing out. And luckily the gaskets are pretty good, so I think I should be able to reuse most of these. The needle for the seat looks pretty darn good, and this emergency plunger even works, so we're happy about that. I put this on the battery charger, and this does retract in and out, so I should be able to just clean this thing and put it back into service. Got that carburetor all flushed out, got it back together. That wasn't a terribly difficult carburetor to clean out, but as you can see, the color of that water, or excuse me, the color of that gasoline is pretty darn nasty. So there was a lot of junk in that carburetor. Hopefully that'll bring this thing right to the front. We'll get that back on there and see what it does.
Well guys, I am super impressed with this mower. I mean, this thing is awesome. I didn't think I was gonna like it because it's so big, but this thing just, it works awesome. I mean, this thing is very well designed. Starting off with this mower deck, see how far out that sticks from the wheel? You can get super close to stuff without hitting. Like, that is awesome. And you can pivot right around like a tree. I mean, it's very maneuverable for how big of a machine it is. I didn't think it was gonna be like this. Sorry guys, don't mind my headgear. I get sunburned pretty easy here, so this is peak summertime for us now. So anyways, this thing is awesome. The other really cool thing about this is that there's 2 gas tanks. So when you're out driving around and you feel it sputtering and you feel it dying and you know it's running out of gas, all you gotta do is come over here and go like this. You can switch between both tanks. That is super cool. Such a cool feature. One thing that I need to do is check the hydraulic fluid for the transmission, for the mower deck and stuff. Now this thing here doesn't really look like it's attached to anything. It's just got one little drain. So I'm not sure if that's how you check the hydraulic fluid, but there's no dipstick, there's no nothing on there. If you guys know, I'm sure I'm gonna do some research and do some digging, I'll figure it out. But if you guys know and could drop a comment, that would save me a lot of time and aggravation. I gotta do a few more things. The mower deck here, as you can see, a couple of these bolts are loose. The mower deck is making a little bit of noise, but I think it's all these guards that are on here, and also all the slop that's in these arms. So I'm gonna go through the mower deck just to kind of clean it up a little bit. There's also some weirdness going on here. Someone added this bar. There's some cracks in the mower deck that need to be welded. There's another crack there that's been repaired once, but it's cracked again. You know, so there's a bunch of little stuff like that that needs to be replaced or repaired. Guys, this thing is just awesome. Like, this machine has exceeded my expectations as far as what a mower can do. Like, I almost like this thing more than my zero turn. And that's a bold statement. So guys, all that work that I did with the PTO, it's working flawlessly. I am super, super excited to say that there's no issues with the PTO. Like, everything is working perfectly. So guys, I'm gonna call that a success. I'll have a few more videos on this thing in the future, but for right now, I'm just gonna use this thing. It's midsummer, you know, July. I think it's July 18th, 19th, somewhere in there. So I'm just gonna use this thing this summer. I'm gonna log some hours on it and just kind of see what we can do. See how much grass we can mow with it. See what other issues arise, and we'll fix them from there. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.